to June, the consultants were in the field. Both the consultants from Iceland and the legal team supported by Dr. George Grant from Jamaica. They were in the field consulting, gathering information, assessing the situation. And we are here today to review their findings and their recommendations and agree on the way forward. This workshop is very, very important for our long-term future, to be able to take advantage of the potential opportunities that are available to us through our marine and fishery resources. We look forward to the deliberations, we look forward to the recommendations and to taking the process forward, because for too long we have been sitting on what I consider to be very, very valuable resources that can help us in this time of economic crisis and challenges. And the fishery resources can indeed contribute much, much more to our economic development, to our food security, to employment situation, to earning of foreign exchange. And we want to put in place all that is necessary to realize the full potential of the fisheries sector. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Haughton. At this time, I now invite the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Fisheries and Water Resource Management of Barbados to make the feature remarks.
Master of Ceremony, members of the High Table, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure this morning to speak to you at the opening of this two-day CRFM SPS validation workshop. Before I go any further, let me say a special welcome to those persons who may be visiting Barbados from other parts of the region or from other parts of the world, especially those who may be visiting Barbados for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest and most abundant natural resource that has been given to us as a Caribbean people by the Almighty God is a wide area of sea that binds us together as a potential single economic space and provides us with opportunities that can further our economic development, either through benefits that can be gained from activities in tourism or simply from activities in fishing. Fishing is the lifeblood for many of our Caribbean communities, and culturally, this economic activity has played an active and important role in providing our nation's people with healthy and wholesome seafood, which from all research has been proven to be a major source of nutrients that forms a catalyst for the development of brain power, a necessary condition for high labor productivity, and thus a prerequisite for sustainable economic development and growth of nations. I believe that to date, fishing and the enormous potential gains that can be derived from a value-added chain of activities associated with a robust fish industry, and I will say fish industry rather than fishing industry because it goes far beyond just fishing, has not yet been given the recognition that it deserves from governments and leading investors in the region. This is unlike countries like Canada and some countries in Asia and the Pacific, where fishing and fish processing have become and are recognized and treated as key support pillars in those economies. Activities in the fish industry, from the primary level of fish harvesting to the highest level on the value-added chain, is fully ingrained in the formal sector of many of these economies, where the most modern and latest state-of-the-art technology is used in the industry, sometimes even at the harvesting stage. I know that we have a lot that we can learn from these people. The fish industry, in particular the harvesting of fish in the Caribbean region, is still pretty much recognized as part of the informal sector. And I believe that this is placing restrictions on the growth of the sector. There's need for a more formal business and corporate approach to the fish industry, especially at the primary level, for it to grow and to develop. Due to the informal position it holds, especially when looking at the economy as a whole, I believe that the percentage contribution that fish harvesting makes to the GDP of countries such as Barbados is highly underestimated or not estimated at all. Records on the landing of fish, the amounts contributed for retail or processing, are badly kept in many countries in the region, or not kept at all. And thus, the true contribution that the industry makes to the GDP of our nations cannot be accurately determined or reflected in statements on the estimation of the GDP. If the region is to fully realize the potential benefits of vibrant and viable fishing industries, and this includes benefits as major foreign exchange earners, we must first move to ensure that the informal economic activities associated with this potential growth industry are transformed and integrated into the economy as a formal economic subsector. This will not only set the stage for the creation of a better recording system to monitor and evaluate all economic activities in this industry and the contribution that they make to the GDP of member countries, it would also give governments a better view of the amount of revenue that they should be collecting in the form of taxes and fees from the various stakeholders in this industry. Furthermore, the formalization of all activities in this industry, especially at the level of harvesting, may very well work to reduce the chances of vessels at the individual level being registered as fishing boats and then being used for some other activity other than fishing. For example, the movement of illegal drugs and firearms across territorial borders. Notwithstanding the dire need for there to be a move to integrate all aspects of the fishing industry fully into the formal economic sector, sustainable growth in this important sector and the ability for governments in the region to fully and effectively tap into the significant potential benefits associated with it, for example, foreign exchange generation, requires that there be a regional approach to the sector by way of joint efforts among stakeholders in member states to drive the sector forward. Now, when I say regional approach, I'm not speaking only of the drafting of harmonized legislation across member countries to govern fishing and the processing of fish in the region. I'm speaking mainly of going after the benefits associated with economies of scale through large-scale production when fishing and fish processing become a regional joint venture rather than a national venture characterized by fragmented microbusinesses. Ladies and gentlemen, there are benefits to be gained from private sector joint ownership of corporate fishing establishments, where investors from across the region can pool resources to acquire fishing vessels that are equipped with state-of-the-art technology to harvest fish in Caribbean waters, I was made to understand that there are vessels that sometimes come into our waters from far north that are equipped with onboard factories that allow for the harvesting and the canning of fish aboard the same vessel. Acquiring a factory-fitted vessel may be out of the reach of an individual in any one country of the region, but the probability of it happening increases if a group of investors from various member states come together in an effort to acquire such a vessel. This leads me to say that despite the abundance of seawater that surrounds us and the high population of fish that may be in our waters, I have not yet seen or heard of a can of tuna or any other fish labeled produced in Barbados, produced in Trinidad, or produced in any other country of the region. I believe that I would be correct to say that all of the canned fish consumed in the region is imported. I don't know if that is true, but I believe that that is true. And it should not be so. The abundance of fish that live in our waters offer great investment and foreign exchange earning potential. There is a wide variety of fish-based products along the value-added chain that can be derived from fish harvesting, fish harvested here in the Caribbean waters, and that holds great potential for export. You would hear about frozen fish fillets, fish burgers. I ate some already. Sausages, canned fish, canned soups, fish oils, to name a few. I would like to add that there are countries outside of this region where the livelihood of the inhabitants are based on fishing that have gone the way of using every part of the fish to produce some kind of product. Nothing is thrown away, unlike what we do here in the Caribbean. Cut off the fish head, we throw it away. Cut out the fish gut, we throw it away. We take off the scales, we throw it away. But some of these countries actually spend time to do research and to use a lot of all parts of the fish to do something. With the presence of the University of the West Indies, I do not see why research cannot be carried out to determine how the various parts of the fish that we now throw away as waste can be used to produce products that can earn foreign exchange for the region. As a region, we need to aggressively seek to explore the abundant possibilities that lie in the waters around us, especially when it comes to food production. If we are to emerge as a developed regional economic space, we need to do this through private sector ventures and closer cooperation among the various governments of member states to drive these ventures forward. It is this kind of cooperation that would allow us the economies of scale that would make the fishing industry, and probably any other industry for that matter, in the region viable and sustainable, and to be to the benefit of the people of the Caribbean region at the regional level. I believe that the time has come, and this might be a little controversial, but I'm still going to say it. I believe that the time has come where the countries in the region can come together as an integrated economic space and agree to institute a policy of what I may call open sea resources to all members of the region. This can be done without compromising the sovereign rights of the individual member states, especially their rights to the resources in the sea that immediately surround them. It is my opinion, and it is just my opinion, and does not reflect the opinion of the ministry and that of the minister, that as a region, we should allow legitimate fishermen to operate their legitimately registered vessels without hindrance anywhere in the Caribbean, and this is the Caribbean waters, but subject to set rules and a set fee or levy paid either to the member state in which waters the vessel is operating or to a central regional body agency established by CARICOM. The proceeds from the fees and levies collected by the agency can then be divided and distributed among member states based on an agreed formula by the member states involved. Such an agency may also serve to be a monitoring and evaluating mechanism to manage fishing activity in the region. I believe such can help to develop fishing, and I'm referring here to fish harvesting as a kind of a regional industry where all member states benefit, rather than a national industry where fishermen are restricted to some kind of a defined small space to fish with limited earnings. The seas surrounding individual member states are not demarcated or separated by walls. They are all connected and open as a Caribbean sea. Fish migrate and, they travel every day to various areas of the sea. Our regional fishermen should therefore be allowed to follow the fish wherever they go in the Caribbean, once the correct fee or levy is paid to the central regional agency I alluded to earlier. Fish can be in abundance, and this is true, in the waters around Barbados today, and tomorrow they may be travel to Trinidad and Tobago. A regional fishing industry or a regional approach to fishing would therefore allow for the free movement within the Caribbean waters without a fisherman from any one particular member state having fear of becoming subject to arrest and being thrown into prison and their catch confiscated by the authorities in another member state if that boat, for example, drift into the waters of that other member state waters because of, say, for example, a faulty engine or any other unforeseen circumstance beyond their control. We cannot truly and realistically speak of a single market and economy or anything about Caribbean integration when a fisherman from a fellow member state of a supposedly integrated area, for example, Barbados, may be arrested. The fish they caught after a number of days at sea is taken away. Even if the fish may have been caught in Barbados waters, they are put into prison for fishing in the other member country waters, and negotiations between states, sometimes at the government level, have to take place in order to set the fishermen free. Such can never be deemed to be in the spirit of regional integration unless some kind of intentional criminal act has been committed. Now, just to focus a little on the thing, and I'm going to end very soon, just to focus on the thing of the program for the next 2 days, the strengthening of the sanitary and phytosanitary regime under the World Trade Organization agreement, which requires member countries to protect human, animal, and plant life and health, and to meet the international standards for their products, as well as the standards of the importing countries, has had impact, kind of serious impact on the fish trade of our Caribbean region. The institution of stringent regulations as it relates to sanitary and phytosanitary measures in the European Union has also served to restrict the growth of the fishing industries in the Caribbean and their ability to export to these countries. The development and implementation of the fisheries component of the 10th EDF-funded sanitary and phytosanitary measures is therefore timely, and the objectives are such that the outputs should address most of the problems we now face in the industry as it relates to meeting standards and adhering to international best practices. It is anticipated that the output will, and this is the output of this program, will enable the countries to set both domestic, regional, and international standards to the way they should be. Additionally, the project is also to propose an efficient and responsive institutional framework and mechanism for coordinating this SPS issues. Barbados is as well as the other CARICOM states, which we gathered here today, for the next 2 days, would look forward to the outputs of this project. And I'm hoping, therefore, that your deliberations would assist in putting the region on a path that would satisfy the Europeans and any other people who would seek to say, well, you have to meet certain standards in order for us to get into their markets. I would therefore end by welcoming again those people who are from other territories of the region and from other parts of the world. And I hope that you do have a very successful and fruitful workshop. And I thank you.
Right, I'd like to thank Mr. Reid for his thought-provoking comments and linking it to the work that we are doing here. We are now coming to the end of this session, and I will ask Mr. Stephen Willoughby, the Chief Fisheries Officer, to give the closing remarks.
Madam Chair, members of the head table, participants, especially invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I note with interest that I have been asked to give closing remarks and not necessarily a vote of thanks. And I only have 5 minutes. Well, I will try to comply with the wishes of the organizers. Madam Chair, we have brought together some of the best brains in SPS fisheries from across the region to review and validate the consultant's report. By the end of the 2 days of deliberation, there will be a set of recommendations, and we will go our separate ways. My question is, what happens next? Based on previous practices, I will predict that these recommendations will become resident dust collectors on someone's shelf. In a few years, these recommendations would be forgotten, and someone would come along and be paid sums of money to reinvent the wheel. In my many years of fisheries in the region, I have seen this cycle of consultant, report, meeting, recommendation, dust collectors, repeated and repeated and repeated. The list is long. It stretches back from the seafront days. at a time when many of you sitting around the table were not born. Fellow participants, you now have an opportunity to break this cycle. Break this cycle of consultant, report, meeting, recommendation, and dust collectors. I want to challenge you not only to make recommendations, but to give some consideration to an implementation plan, which is quite often missing. An implementation that we are all committed to. An implementation plan that will become part of our annual work plan and be supported by budgetary allocations. With this action, this action will be the difference between the recommendations contributing to the regional development or continuing the cycle to nowhere. I'm still mindful that I have 5 minutes. So I urge you, please consider your implementation plan. If not, you just go back to what has been happening years ago. I'm suggesting that if only 10% of the recommendations made over the years have been implemented, we would have been way ahead in sustainable fisheries in the region. And we would not now be faced with many of the problems that we are presently struggling with. On a lighter matter, I want to, for those persons who have been here, who's the first time here in Barbados, this area surrounding the hotel is surrounded by several eating and watering places. If you go out the front of the hotel, obliquely opposite to the right, there's a mall and an eating place. If you keep going right, you have Chefette, that you can get a meal. And if you keep going to the traffic lights, towards the traffic lights, to your right, you pass Burke's Bar, which is a favorite watering hole of some persons here. And then we keep going, there's a supermarket by the traffic lights. If we turn left, those people who like KFC, there's a KFC. There's also Bubbles Bar, which is a very popular watering hole. And you go about 5 minutes walk, you have Lantern Mall, where you can also get some refreshments. And in concluding, let me thank all those persons who, in whatever way, contributed to this reality of this workshop. And I wish that you would have an enjoyable stay while here in Barbados. Thank you very much.